Okay, so today we're going to learn about how to do citations in your final review of literature paper. I've provided you with these two links. They don't necessarily take you exactly where you want to go, I'm sorry. But if you sort of know what you're looking for, you can find it. So if we look here, and we know we want APA style, and if we look down here, we'll see how to cite, for instance, electronic sources. So you can get yourself here. I think you have to start by looking for what's called the style guides or the guides, APA guide, and then you'll come down here. The UBC one takes you here, and then here's the citation style guides. You should be able to click on APA. Quick guides. So there's all different things to look at. Now, what I'd like you to do is to use a particular website to create your works cited. And this is called Cite This For Me. So this is what you get. Okay, and I think MLA was the default. I've already started. I've been spending some time sort of using this and trying it out. So you will have to pick the APA, but you can see there's a whole bunch of different ways of citing. We want APA, that's just the way it is in the social sciences. And you are probably going to be inputting websites. Your information is all web-based. So I did a little bit of Googling just to show you a few examples. So here's one that should work out. So you can see this is some information from the Public Health Agency of Canada. So this is who I would want as my author organization because there's no person listed here. So you, of course, have it easy because you already know that. You've already filled in your chart and you've already identified that that's your organization. And you've also already identified and placed in your organizational chart that I've looked at the year 2011. So you know these pieces of information. So now we're just going to take the URL, put it here, start with AutoCite, and let's see what it does. Add the reference, and here we have what our bibliography is going to look like. Now, the problem with all of these things, whether it's BibMe, EasyBib, whatever it might be, is that they don't always grab the right pieces of information that we want. And they miss things, they screw things up, and they add things more than once, I find. That's the other thing. So you can use this little edit tool, and you can edit this thing. So this is the title of the page. So I would get rid of some of this because really all we want is a Public Health Agency of Canada. Actually, I would put that here as the last name, Public Health Agency of Canada. And then what I would want to put here, okay, I guess we update it and we'll come back later. I would want to put Obesity in Canada as my title because that's the title of the article, if you will, that I've read. So I would edit this again, and under this I would put obesity in Canada. Okay, I also would get rid of this because it's in the URL right here and we don't need to see that twice. Okay, here's our access date. I would check that that year is correct. It is. I would make sure that's there. That may or may not pull, and if not, you need to find it because I'm going to be clicking and I'm going to see it, and you're going to lose marks because you didn't do this right. So now we have an author or an agency. We have the title of where we were, of what we read this article, and we have our retrieval date. Speaking of retrieval dates, so when I looked at the Purdue and at UBC, I didn't notice them worrying about retrieval dates. And I thought, that's interesting. What is going on with that? So I ended up coming across this. This is a whole thing. I forget how I got here or where this came from exactly, but this discusses at length and in detail exactly what a URL is, exactly what I think it's a DOI is, and it tells you whether or not you should be putting the date of retrieval in. So that's just to let you know that there are people out there taking this stuff awfully, awfully seriously. Meanwhile, for us, I say this to you. If it puts it down here, leave it. It does not matter if this is the exact date that you found the information or if this is the date that you made your bibliography. It really doesn't matter. I have no way of checking when exactly you finished your paper, so I will never know. So that's that one looking good. Now, let's try this one. So here's something from the Huffington Post, HuffPost Living Canada. Or we could say I would use this, the Huffington Post Canada. Here's the name of our article, and this time we have an author and we have a year of publication again. So let's just see how much of this stuff we pull. And what I'm really curious about is what that website is going to decide is the author. If we have the name of the author, we want to give Jessie some credit. I'm sure Jessie needs the credit. So let's just see whether Cite This For Me agrees with us or not. So if we add another website, paste the URL, auto cite, and let's see what happens. So we do not get Jessie. So we're going to put, I think it was that, and we're just going to put J because in APA format, you don't actually want the person's name. You just want their first initial and their entire last name. Year published 2016. I'm not sure that that's correct, but we'll have a look. So let's add this and let's see what it looks like. So there we have Ferreras J 2016. There's the title where we are, and we don't see the duplication of the website name, so that's nice. Let's just go back and double check. See, I have this 2015. So what's interesting about some of these websites is that then down at the bottom you have copyright 2016 huffingtonpost.com. So they're just doing that, they're just updating that year by year. So I would go back, to be honest with you, and I would make it more accurate, and I would say 2015 is the last time we know that this information was actually updated. So I would go in, this is what I mean by this being a little bit nitpicky. And let's just change the year to 2015. Oh no, I'm wrong about that. No, that stays, I'm in the wrong one. This one. So we'll just change that to 2015. No, I'm wrong about that. Okay, I'm looking at the wrong dates. Here we go. This is the one we want. We want to go 2015 and update that. Now let's look at our final one. Okay, so imagine you were here. So this one has authors way down here. These two lovely ladies wrote this. Okay. Now I do not think that it'll pull those names, but we're going to try. Oh, here they are here. Sorry, I didn't see those. So right up top. Okay, so we know that Statistics Canada is the organization, and we know that we're in the section Health at a Glance. I'm hoping it will pull this title because this is really what we've read. Actually, no, Health at a Glance is what we want. Because if you see how that font is the same size as the font of these other subtitles, then I don't think this is a title of the whole thing. This is a title of this section. So we're going to go with Health at a Glance as our title. So again, let's take this URL. Let's add another website. Auto cite. And let's see what we get. We don't get the authors. Of course, we don't get the authors. So for the sake of time, let's imagine that it was Burke, J, and Smith, L. Okay, we don't have the repetition here. I've got to go back and check the date. Let's add it for now and see what we get. There's the names. There we go. And let's just go back and check the date. Do we have a date? Where did they get that date? So there's 2015 down there. We don't have a date here. and we don't seem to have a date at the top. So 2015 should be our date. However, you'll notice that they've given it 2016 again. So somewhere in there it says 2016, even though I couldn't find it. So we're going to go back and go 2015. So I do expect you to go back and fix these up a little bit and make them nice. So you don't want the double dipping of the names of the website, and you're going to add the authors if you have them, okay? Because I just think these days people deserve the credit. Okay, now if we want to put this into our paper, so pretend this is your assignment doc that you're going to type your paper into. If I copy this, I want to do that. And then I go here, I believe you should be able to paste it. Now, in your list, these are going to go by alpha order. So let's get them in. I think they actually are in alphabetical order. There may be a way to just put this whole thing, copy the whole thing, but in any event. Okay, these should not be hyperlinks, so you need to be careful when you paste these in that they aren't. In the interest of time, I'm not going to go back and fix that. And then if we go get our last one, there we are. Just take the cursor and put it somewhere else, and then it won't change it. So you would want to perhaps change the font to match the rest of your paper and that kind of thing. I find that editing back in Cite This For Me is a little bit easier than having to try and fix things here. But you can see that down the left-hand side, these are in alphabetical order. Burke comes before Ferreris, comes before Public Health Agency of Canada. Now, here's a really important part. If you've got Burke here, Burke and Smith, that means that in your paper, when you're writing your actual citations, you're going to use Burke and Smith 2015. So when I'm reading your paper and I'm reading your paragraphs and I see Burke and Smith, that means that down here there's going to be a Burke and Smith. So I will not be reading Huffington Post in the bracket and then seeing Burke and Smith. You're going to use the names of the people. If you've got people, use their names. Down here, you would just use Public Health Agency of Canada 2011. If you don't have a date of publication, it would look like this, Burke ND, no date. Okay? And as I've discussed before, and as you know in the paragraph, if you ended up with two Public Health Agency of Canada's, both in 2011, then you would write Obesity in Canada or the first few words of the two titles because they're the same. But if they're not, you don't need to do that, and you shouldn't do that. Now, I also just want to say that I'm not sure that this is what they're going to teach you next year or when you're writing papers for professors and college instructors and stuff like that. It's all very wishy-washy with all of these internet sources these days. So I'm not exactly sure what the rules would be, but you'd have to find out from those profs and those instructors, and I'm sure that they would let you know. They're probably a lot more picky than I will be. Okay, so just make sure that these match, that these are in alphabetical order, and that you sort of clean up the formatting as needed.